In one of our previous videos, we talked about the possibility of Daenerys being pregnant by Jon Snow. And after being resurrected in a possible Game of Thrones sequel, first we must start by saying that this theory is supported in reality. After the end of Game of Thrones, different images and behind-the-scenes scenes have come out, which point to the fact that Daenerys was pregnant during the 8th season of Game of Thrones. There's one scene especially that Game of Thrones fans have mentioned, where we can see behind the scenes that Daenerys is pregnant during the episode of the Bell, the same one in which she destroys King's Landing. Some have claimed that this is a scene created to divert the fans' attention, in case any leaks occurred. Jon protected his family by sacrificing his love, but if Daenerys had revealed to him that she was pregnant, Jon would have been faced with an impossible decision. Daenerys, the love of his life with his heir. Jon Snow has always been a character guided by morals and justice, and has proven on several occasions that he is capable of making difficult decisions when he believes it is the right thing to do. Throughout the series, Jon has faced moral dilemmas, and has chosen the well-being of the people over his personal interests, but the birth of a child changes everything. Jon knows how he was discriminated against and rejected throughout his life. Possibly he thought from a young age that if he ever had a child, everything would be different. Maybe Jon gave up the idea of having offspring when he joined the Night's Watch, but maybe this hope returned with Daenerys. I think that if Daenerys had been pregnant, Jon would have done nothing. What would happen next would be the execution of Tyrion Lannister for betraying Daenerys, and Daenerys' systematic conquest over the rest of Westeros. The birth of a daughter or son of Jon and Daenerys would represent a new stage in the Targaryen family in Westeros. I think the ending would have been similar, the difference being that their child would have become the rightful heir to the throne. Perhaps history would have repeated itself, but what would have been a happy ending for Jon Snow, Daenerys, and their son? After Jon Snow had found out about the pregnancy, he would have tried to convince Daenerys to give up the throne. In this alternate ending, Jon will continue with the idea of not ruling. Remember, he mentioned several times that he did not want to be king. Perhaps he would have convinced Daenerys to escape with him and go into exile in Essos. First, Daenerys would have resisted, as she has been fighting all her life to regain her family's throne. King's Landing belongs to the Targaryens, but she would have realized herself that the inhabitants of this place despised her. She knows that there is no love for her there, and she would not have been willing to lose her son and husband again. I think there is a good chance that Daenerys would have escaped with Jon to Essos, where they would have lived out their days in a humble way, and perhaps the Targaryen legacy would return to somewhere near Valyria. On the other hand, everything else could stay the same, with Bran as the king of the Seven Kingdoms, and a not-so-sad ending. However, as we mentioned in a previous video, there is still hope. Currently, the series of Jon Snow and the Sea Snake are in competition to see which one will have the green light in its production, according to news that came out this week, so we could have Jon Snow back, and of course there is the possibility of Daenerys' return. A Daenerys who will be resurrected and who could be pregnant. Let's imagine for a moment that there were actually scenes filmed where Daenerys was pregnant, that these scenes were saved and could be used in some flashback in the future. What if Daenerys really will have a child with Jon after she is resurrected, and this child would become a new threat? The Targaryen lineage issue is one of the most important in this universe, and the end of Game of Thrones really wasn't helpful in explaining why the Targaryens should really be in power, and maybe there are a lot of stories to be told. But tell me, what are your thoughts on all that?